We just wanted to highlight that information, share it with everyone so they kind of know really how closely these teams are relative to their results over the season. Now it's going to come down to matchups at every level, and we'll talk about that in the next section as we go through the Bias Plus report. Before we leave the ranking section, anything on that, Mr. Dickerson?
No. Before seeing the numbers as you've compiled them, I believe that this game would be really close. I had no idea how close it would be according to the power rankings, but now that you've compiled the numbers and I see it, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not surprised. I'm a little bit surprised. But I had looked at some other numbers and they kind of give a picture of how we arrived or how you arrived at those numbers that you just showed.
Okay, so we'll talk about that in the next section?
Yep.
All right, that's what we call a tease. Okay, so in this section, we're going to go over the Bias Plus report. Now, again, I produced the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. When you're looking at a matchup and you begin to look at them relative to their net points, so the bias will generally go to the team with the greater net points. In other words, if I've been winning by a margin of 20 points and you've been winning by a margin of 3, and we play each other, the difference of 17 favors the team that scored the higher net point number. So that's all that is. It's, it's bias. In any event, in addition to that, we add in turnover differential, and that's the little plus. So again, those are the only two stats when you're looking at the points for, points against. Those are the two stats where you have both a positive and a negative number. So you really have a true range of within the 32 teams. So now we're going to look at the Bias Plus report. Before I pull that up, Mr. Dickerson, did you have anything you want to say about this?
Well, no. Why don't you bring it up? Let's see it.
Well, there you go. Bias Plus report for the NFL Super Bowl 54 in 2020, San Francisco 49ers. Oh, we are the away team.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, it looks like the Chiefs are the home team.
Chiefs are the home team. And this must go back and forth or something of that nature, because I looked at the schedule, like for the game before they had the actual matchup of who was going to be in it.
Right.
It was like NFC at AFC, basically, or something like that. So it was,
had the better record.
But it had nothing to do with the team. It was already sort of predefined who was home and who was away before they even knew who the teams were that were playing.
Oh, okay. It must flip-flop.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
The cities flip-flop and, whatever.
Could be. Bias Plus score, 5 favors the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm probably the only one, because we kind of talked about this a little bit. Vegas is favoring Kansas City, but only at 1.5. I mean, that's, everything that we've said about how close it is. When you look at Vegas, they're right there in terms of, saying that this is a close game. And then when you're playing the points, that point spread, which I'm trying to learn about, you have to either, like, let me not even try to explain it because I'm not that strong with it. But long story short, you got to be beyond the points or within the points or something like that. And when the spread is only 1.5, that's difficult to do, to be within that range that you need to be. That I had to complete my franchise season, right?
Oh, yeah. How'd it go?
Before we get into it, I don't know if you can see now.
No, I can't see that. Did you win the chip or not?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. There you go.
And let me tell you a couple things real quick. Just kind of fun stuff. All right, so I get all nervous about playing the game, right? Because I mean, I got to come on here and say I either won or lost, and I don't know if there's any universal vibes that might help or hurt my team, but I want to win, right? I'm competitive like that. I go into the game, and I'm feeling like the game's trying to cheat me a little bit. I felt a little pressured at one point and went for it on fourth down at about the 50-yard line.
No.
I'm a running team. You're supposed to be able to get that yard. It was like a
It was
yard.
4th and 1.
Huh?
4th and 1.
Yeah, it was like 4th and 1 or something.
At the 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it late in the game?
2 plays later, Tyreek Hill is burning by Sherman. He gets burned deep.
Was it late in the game?
No. Early in the game. Second quarter or so.
Had you scored?
No.
I'm trying to figure this out.
It was like 0-0 at that point.
Oh, okay. All right. All
Like
right. You took a shot.
I took a shot. And then they took a shot, and I was down 7-0.
Okay.
However, you stay true to your knitting. You do what you do. And I started to run the ball. And I started to throw the Kittle. And I hit him up a little bit, once the run got going, because it's like anything. You're either going to stop it or you're going to get burnt by it. In order to stop it, if you can't stop it with your normal front 4 to 5 to 7, then you got to bring down the 8. Now you're in trouble. So long story short, they burnt Sherman, okay? And I come back, I score twice and kick a field goal. So I'm like up 10.
Okay.
And they're coming down, and Mahomes has got him in the red zone. And I'm putting pressure on him, and he tosses the ball back over, and Sherman picks it off in the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is just too good. First of all, that I'm even playing the Chiefs. But then that Sherman gets burnt, which we're all afraid of because everybody's talking about he lost a step, and then he got the fastest around. So it's quite possible. He got burnt a little
very
bit.
possible.
He got burnt a little bit last week.
It's extremely possible.
And so, and boom, it happens. But then he went back to Sherm, and you can't go over there too much. That's not good.
No, because he's going to figure it out.
You don't want to go over there when you're under duress. That's when you really just, because you pop something over in that direction. He's like a receiver. He's got hands. He will catch that ball, So he's not like your normal D-backs who were, receivers who couldn't make the squad because they couldn't really catch. So they turned to defense, So anywho, that's it. I'll play a little bit of that maybe in the next segment. But in any event, Niners, bias 5. What say you?
Okay, so the net point power rankings say that the Niners are a +5 favored to win, so to speak. I know that the net point power rankings are not the end all and be all. It's not a predictor of.
It's all a bias. We're just talking
about the bias, numbers and who's done what up to this point. Right. So what I just wanted to mention was before I try to pick a team or before anybody else out there tries to pick a team, hopefully you'll see this and weigh some of this stuff. And I'm going to kind of go back to the last segment where we found that the difference in the points that were allowed by the two different defenses was only a 3-point difference. And the points that were scored by the two offenses, there was only a 6-point difference. One thing is for sure, so I'm not going to spit out any stats about this, but that is the overall running game for the 49ers is better than the Chiefs' running game. I don't think anybody will argue that. However, people say that Mahomes, who had a great season, no doubt about it, is a far better quarterback, or they would quickly prefer him over Jimmy Garoppolo, I got a little something for you. Patrick Mahomes attempted 484 passes this season. Jimmy Garoppolo attempted 476. Pretty close. Mahomes completed 319 of those passes. Jimmy G completed 329 of his. So he threw less balls and completed more. Jimmy Garoppolo. Yards-wise, passing yards, Mahomes 4,031, a little over 4,000. Garoppolo 3,978, a little bit less than 4,000. Real close. Now this makes the rankings being so close not so you can kind of see it. It's really like that. Like anybody who watches these programs and goes, net points, what the heck? This is right on the money.
Now, let me ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
Not to throw too much of a wrench into your numbers, but Mahomes missed 3 games, 4 games?
2 games.
2 games. That was all?
Yep.
So he did it in 2 less games.
Yes.
Okay. All right. No problem. Still close. Still close.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he still outdid Jimmy in yardage, but he threw more passes, even though he missed 2 games. That's my point.
Right. They're a throwing team.
Right. Right. Touchdowns. Mahomes, 26 passing touchdowns. Garoppolo, 27. Here's the difference.
Wow.
And we talked about this when you talked about the turnover differential. Mahomes has only thrown 5 interceptions. Garoppolo's thrown 13 interceptions. That's a pretty big difference. Garoppolo also lost 5 fumbles. Mahomes only 2. So there's your turnover thing. Okay. Right. So I just wanted to, share some of those comparisons that show that this game really is as close as people are making it out to be, or as some people, probably casual fans who don't really care about numbers and all that stuff. It's a lot closer than they may think it's going to be.
That is a very scary statistic in terms of Garoppolo and the turnover, the interceptions. We know, again, 5 turnovers to the Steelers. But I also do think that he improved as the season went on in terms of the turnover numbers. Now, part of that, again, let's face it, he's handing the ball off and the run game dominates. So, okay. Any more numbers?
Oh, I got a ton of numbers. I'm just trying to pick out the most interesting ones.
Oh, okay.
Garoppolo has a better completion percentage.
Right. Again,
because he throws less and has to throw less.
Right.
That's going to help his completion percentage.
And him and Mahomes have great tight ends. That helps your completion percentage.
That helps a lot.
That really
does. Your safety blanket.
The shootouts. He had shootouts, and I think that's the thing that he's not getting really enough respect for. That when it came to the shootout with the Ravens or the shootout with the Saints, or even with the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals was putting points up. Our defense went through a lot of some injuries and some things, and a few players just not meeting up to standards. Some of them have been replaced already. We have some new talent that kind of emerged a little later in the year, like Greenlaw, or a linebacker for the Niners. You found out he's faster than what most linebackers are. So there's some talent that emerged late, even in terms of Mostert, talent that kind of emerged late in the season. So they did well.
I told you about Mostert last year.
Well, we talked about Mostert last year, of course, because again, I play. He's been a part of my of my team, you know, that I've utilized. I move him up. The game has him low on the totem pole. I saw those speed and stuff numbers. I moved him right up. So we're right. We both kind of picked up on him. But in terms of how much time he actually got to do anything, it was later in the year, you know. So that's all I'm saying.
It's funny how head coaches and offensive coordinators, well, defense too, but sometimes respond to the talents of certain players, or maybe there's something about that guy that they can see it, but they just don't quite believe. I mean, they ran right out first chance they could get and grabbed Tevin Coleman at the beginning of the season. So there was something about him that they just weren't sure about, you know. And Coleman had a good year, no doubt about it. Coleman had a really good year, but he's got a little injury history, and most of came through.
Speaking of, I know it's something. I'm glad you mentioned that. For some reason, Breida, I couldn't run with Breida in the game. It looked like he was there. I had him as the number one back. He's normally, but every play when I lined up, it was Tevin Coleman back there. Even, you know, so okay, that's what it was. That's what I went with. He wound up being the player of the game, but he separated his shoulder at the goal line on the touchdown. In the game, he separated his shoulder. I'm like,
wow.
I'm telling you, Benny, it gets crazy. It gets crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
But he was player of the game. He
So were you able to bring Breida in then?
No, I had to run with Monster.
Okay. Hey, look.
I had no problem with it. You know, I told you, he was the third back. I have Breida, Coleman, and Monster. Those are my three backs.
Depth charts lie.
Well, they're all good backs. They're all good backs. And like I said,
but you have a depth chart for a reason, supposedly.
I'm wondering, are we going to see Breida in this Super Bowl? Because there are actually articles that say they think that think that the coach was kind of stashing him a little bit. I actually wondered. I think he had a fumble, and I think he got the Patriot treatment. You know, when you fumble when you with the Patriots, all of a sudden you and the bench get real friendly.
Yeah, not this long though.
So now that, and from what I understand, he's still questionable with the shoulder, etc. So you could come in there with two heavyweight starters with Breida and Mostert, you know, and one of the things I think people are trying to, I've seen them try to equate the ability of the Chiefs to slow down the Titans running game, completely different style run game. Quickness is especially relative to that. Even though Henry is, you know, speedy, quick, you know, he still is Henry. You know, he's not Mostert, he's not Breida. Those guys are shiftier, and the whole offense runs in a different way. They're already talking about the Chiefs not buying what the setup is. In other words, you know, if it looks like they're going that way, don't buy it, because it's probably coming back this way, and that's what they're trying to discipline themselves on. I think that one of the keys is going to be if the Niners can keep them out of the end zone. They can move all up and down the field, but if we can hold them to field goals and put up anywhere near our normal scoring, then we'll win that game. You know, they're going to get something, but, you know, and then again, you know, can we really pressure Mahomes with four people? That's the question. Your boy LT said it was funny. He said, they said, how do you contain Mahomes? He said, or how do you deal with Mahomes? He said, you got to contain him. They said, how we do that? And then he said, you got to put a spy on him. But I think what he was saying, this is what he said, you got to contain them, you got to flush them out, and then have your spy attack them. So it's like,
What does that mean? You got to contain him, but then you got to flush him out.
Well, this
Come
your boy
on, man.
LT. What can I tell you? He picked them anyway. So, but yeah, that was crazy. That's that was on TV today. So pressure is always going to be a big part of it. As I said to my friends who were Viking fans going into that game, and I said to my friends who were Packer fans, like my son, going into that game, all I can tell you is we got dogs out there. Y'all can come on out there if y'all want to, but we got dogs, and these boys is gonna come at you, in a way you might not be used to seeing. So that I think is going to be part of the difference. Which team, which defense is really going to be able to apply the pressure. You've already said, looks like Garoppolo might be a little susceptible to it. But if we're running the ball and we're controlling it like we should, then you can protect against that. And I think they can run the ball. So I like the bias. You got more numbers for me? You got more numbers for you? Because you haven't really stated.
Yeah, I'm talking myself into this as I go. Let's talk about defense right now.
Here we go.
Let's talk about defense. So we're talking about maybe trying to stop the Niners' run game. And the Chiefs have given up 14 rushing touchdowns this year. That's not a lot, but it's not a little either.
Where does that rank them? Any idea?
I'm not sure about the ranking, but let's put it in perspective. The supposedly superior defense has given up 11 rushing touchdowns. So 11 for the Niners, 14 for the Chiefs. Not far off. Doesn't make the Chiefs terrible against the run. As far as the Niners defense being able to get after Mahomes, they finished with 48 sacks this year. That's pretty good. That's got to rank them up pretty high. But the Chiefs defense has 45. Again, super close. Like, this is crazy. As I'm looking at these now, I'm like, game is so close. The Chiefs defense doesn't stink anymore. Something happened. And I think it really started to take place round about week 10, maybe, where teams just weren't having their way with them. Now, since the playoffs have begun, the problem is they've been falling behind in games early. I don't know if that's poor game planning on their part, on the defensive side of the ball, or bad game planning. Like, teams seem to be jumping on them and really catching them by surprise. So that's been a weakness. Now they've had 2 weeks to prepare. Like you said, if it looks like the Niners are running this way and they're really going that way, then the Chiefs are going to have to be very disciplined in their front seven to stop or even slow down that run game. So that's going to be pretty tough, because I'm sure Kyle Shanahan's got a whole brand new script for him. So whatever they've been watching over the course of the season, they'll probably get some of that, but they're going to get something else too. Who knows? Niners could come out throwing the ball. There's no telling what could happen. But as far as strengths and weaknesses, again, very close. Niners defense has gotten 12 interceptions this year. Oh, we talked about the interceptions with the turnover difference. So we can skip that, and we can skip over that. And, here we are. The Chiefs defense has given up 21 passing touchdowns. Niners, the better defense, has given up 23. 2 touchdown difference in the Chiefs' favor. If we just talk to the casual fan, that's why I love doing this show. If we just talk to the casual fan and you pose these questions to them, I doubt they get a lot of them right. And I think they would be extremely surprised at how close these things are. And possibly this could make a difference. And when we talk about turnovers again, one more time, last time, a guy we used to play ball with, Walt Bellamy, used to talk about getting interceptions in a game. And he'd say, yeah, interceptions are great. Interceptions are nice, but the great ones take it home. Okay? Fumble recoveries, interception returns. The Niners defense has scored 5 defensive touchdowns. The Chiefs only 3. So that being said, with the turnover differential being that close, the difference there is, what do you do with it when you get it? And it looks like the Niners, looks like it's in their favor.
Okay. So it sounds like you found the 1 and you found the 1 and maybe you found the 1, but I don't know if you added it up to 3 yet.
Oh, you were doing math while I was saying those numbers?
That's about as far as my math goes. 1 and 1 and 1. And beyond that, it's calculator or Excel spreadsheet time.
I mean, I can't. The only other thing I could say about this game is that if I have to pick a winner, I'm going to go with the bias plus, which I've been going against quite a bit and losing my shirt. And I'm going to go with the team that I think has the better chance of making the big plays on defense. And I believe that's the 49ers.
All right. Okay. That sounds lucid and logical. Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic. You know, it was funny. I had this momentary thought. I was like, wait a minute. You know, we can't lose this because we're undefeated in Super Bowls. And then it was like, no, we won 5. We lost 1 with Kaepernick.
Oh, right. The one with the Ravens. Yeah.
Yeah. You know.
Joe Flacco beat y'all.
But you know, I always said it was what was the name of the wide receiver kick returner guy that they had at the time. He was real fast.
Oh,
He returned that was the difference in the game as far as I was concerned.
His last name was Wilson. I remember that.
Yeah, because I remember he had a really big play against the Broncos.
Yep.
Leading up to that game. And then after a while, he like disappeared. The season after that or whatever, he was gone.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those things almost like with Ted Ginn, where he was like really, really good returner, but it's questionable as a receiver.
Right.
You know, and I guess nobody was giving him the shot or else whatever, you know, but long story short, I thought he was the difference in the game. In any event, you're going with the bias. Again, what was those famous words? If you throw the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad.
And 2 of them are bad.
So if we can run the ball and continue on our normal ways, as opposed to them throwing the ball, and if we can contain touchdowns, I think that the Niners, you know, will be enjoying number 6 and will be up there with the ranks of the 6. This is the quest for 6, as far as I'm concerned. We've been on this quest for a hot minute, but it is all about the quest for 6. So, all right, that wraps up the Bias Plus report, unless you have more statistics.
No, I have no more.
I have no more statistics. All right, then we'll be moving on to commentary.